Hello and welcome to another lovely fluffy episode of Almost Breaking News right here on the Everything Electric channel on the YouTubes. Now we've got some varied stories from around the world and around the country this time, including a little report from our recent Everything Electric event in London. It was a wonderful 3 days of fun, frolics, fascinating insights and fun for all the family, and of course a monstrous amount of test drives in a wide range of amazing electric cars. Now, I'll start with China, as I've just returned from an amazing short trip there, my first time in the country. Extraordinary. As global attention shifts away from one very unstable superpower ruled by an insane autocrat to a much bigger and very stable superpower run by another slightly less insane autocrat, it felt like a very timely visit. What struck me as soon as I arrived is that China is now decades ahead of Europe and USA in terms of renewable energy capacity, technology, and the electrification of ground transport. Now, I know people will be unable to stop themselves commenting about the myriad negative aspects of Chinese authoritarian government and human rights issues, but I'm just saying, I'm telling you what I saw there. Now, while I was there, I attended the Shanghai Auto Show. There's an episode about that on the Fully Charged show we've already released, so I won't go on about that now, just to say it's huge and overwhelming. But the streets of Shanghai are very quiet and very, very clean. The air smells delightful. There are millions of scooters, bikes and mopeds on the street, and all of them, we never saw anything but, all of them are electric. There are thousands of buses and taxis on the street, and they are all electric. And as for cars, at a rough guess, between 80 to 85% of those vehicles are pure electric. There was a few hybrids, and every now and then an actual fossil burner. Lovely old thing. We learned about the amazing new battery chemistries and designs coming out of CATL, the world's biggest battery maker. And there's a detailed report about that coming soon on the Everything Electric show. The race is on between CATL and BYD for the fastest charging vehicle battery. It is extraordinary what they're achieving. BYD have a luxury brand called Han, and they released details of the Han L sedan, a car that charges at 1 megawatt, adding 250 miles range in 5 minutes. When you start charging this car, it is adding 2 kilometers of range every second. We saw a similar battery made by CATL, which charges a little faster at 1.3 megawatts. Now, I want to be the first to point out that the battery and electrical system in these cars is incredible and it can absorb this much power, but I've yet to see a 1.3 megawatt charger. I'm sure it will happen eventually, and of course, it will happen first in China. We also went on a quick trip in a bullet train. These are incredibly popular, unspeakably fast, cruising along at around 380 kilometers an hour, 240 miles an hour. These trains are smooth, quiet, and an incredibly efficient way of moving millions of people around the country, which they do every day. Short-haul flights have decreased dramatically in China since the rollout of these incredible trains. Next story! We're really excited to partner with Duracell Energy to showcase their amazing renewable energy solutions. If you want to reduce your energy bills and join the renewable energy transition, installing home battery storage and solar panels at home is a great way to start. Duracell Energy's ecosystem of products typically partners with solar panels, but they can be used just as effectively without it, particularly for electric vehicle owners or anyone looking to take control of their energy. And with Duracell Energy's Platinum Homeowner offer, viewers can get a custom service that pairs you with top quality products and the best installers in your area. Plus, Duracell Energy's batteries, inverters, and EV chargers work together on one easy-to-use app. With features like dynamic tariff integration and grid services, you'll be able to maximize your return. Ready to get started?
you can get your quote today. And don't forget, we're also giving away a Duracell Energy Bunny in every episode. Just answer the question about fully charged by following the link in the description. Good luck!
Now, here's the thing. I have mentioned on Almost Breaking News previously that air quality in London has improved dramatically due to the restriction on fossil-burning vehicles, plus the introduction, very importantly, of electric buses, delivery vans, trucks and taxis. The improvement has been so marked in London that another source of dangerous toxic air pollution, previously masked by diesel fumes, has raised its ugly head. Domestic gas boilers are now the leading source of air pollution in the city. For those of you living in countries where the adoption of heat pumps happened decades ago, let me remind you what a gas boiler is. It's a smallish metal box on the wall inside your home that burns toxic gas extracted from deep in the ground. It's then cleaned and pressurized into tanks, then fed along thousands of miles of pipes that leaks about 10% of the gas into the atmosphere, and then it goes into your boiler where it is burned to produce heat, along with really noxious gases that, if the boiler isn't set up right, kill people regularly. They suffocate to death in their sleep. Just saying. Or you could have a heat pump that burns nothing and doesn't kill anyone. Anyway, these filthy old gas boilers are now a real problem, and it's going to take decades to get rid of them. And the gas price is really volatile and will only go and get more expensive. It'll keep going up as all the wells start to run dry, or there's another war that jacks up the price insanely. We need to be energy independent, because this gas, this filthy gas that we're still importing and bringing in by the millions of cubic meters, this traps poor, hard-working families in perpetual poverty anxiety, thanks to the gleeful, stinking rich, ugly fossil fuel industry who are laughing all the way to the bank. Not that I'm biased. Next story. Earlier this year, we visited a shipbuilding company called Incat, based in Hobart, Tasmania, and witnessed what is now the largest electric vehicle on the planet. Now, it was still under construction when we were there. It has now finally been launched and will undergo sea trials in the coming months, which we also really hope to be able to report on. This ship is electric. It has 250 tons of batteries with 40 megawatt hours of capacity, 8 enormous electric motors that drive the incredible water jet things that come out the back. There's a special name for them, I've forgotten it. And the combined weight of all that stuff is still less than the marine diesel engines, support systems and fuel tanks that this ship is happily doing without. It's actually lighter than a diesel version. Once it's totally finished, it will operate a ferry service across the River Plate between Argentina and Paraguay, carrying 2,100 passengers and 225 vehicles each trip. A 100% electric ship charged by 100% renewable electricity. It can be done. Nice. Next story. VW have clearly been doing quite well in China. Among the huge array of Chinese cars I saw on the roads there, VW was the one European brand that really stood out as being very popular and quite common. VW have just announced that they have produced their 1 millionth electric car at their specialist, mostly renewably powered plant at Zwickau in Germany. Now, Jack Scarlett made an episode about the factory 3 years ago when it had just opened, so it's produced those million cars pretty quickly. Next story. I was recently loaned a Hyundai Ioniq 6, and I can say with confidence that this is a very nice, well-built and very comfortable automobile, a very capable alternative to other brands of car of a similar size and cost. Just before they came to pick it up and take it away, which I was very sad about, I gave it a wash with my new old man's car washing tool. Oh my lord, I love this thing. Now, I'm going to blow my own trumpet for a moment, because when the car was delivered, I charged it to 100%, which I know you shouldn't do all the time, but I did it twice while I had the car. The first time I charged it, the range indicator said 235 miles. I mean, it's not awful, but nowhere near the often claimed 330 miles this car is supposed to be able to achieve. However, after I'd driven it for about 10 days, I charged it to 100% again, and this time the range indicator said 289 miles. Go figure. Well, I know the reason. The plethora of heavy-footed motoring journalists who would have thrashed this car before I had it have severely lowered what the trip computer thinks the car is capable of. I know I could easily get around 300 miles with some slightly careful driving. All I mean is driving without breaking the speed limit. While I was using the car, I stopped at a brand new charging hub near the beautiful city of Winchester in the south of England. Built by Instavolt, this place has 44 ultra-rapid chargers, a huge solar array and massive batteries, plus a coffee shop, very pleasant restroom, toilet facilities, and even a children's playground. Now, the Ioniq 6 has a 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery and 800-volt architecture, which means it can charge very quickly. I saw a peak of 160 kilowatts from the Instavolt chargers, which meant I was charged up before I could even have a sip of my coffee. The thing is, cars charge too fast. I want them to charge slower, so I've got enough time to visit the restroom and go and buy a coffee and have a little stretch and go for a little walk, and then it's full. No, with these cars, they're charged in no time, and in the future, they're going to be charged in 5 minutes. I don't know how I can cope. Next story. Back in 1997, after 14 years of Conservative rule in the United Kingdom, we had a general election, and a young man called Tony Blair became our Prime Minister. Oh yes, happy days. Things can only get better. That was until he made us join in with the USA and invade a country that had literally nothing to do with 9/11. Oh, it had weapons of mass destruction, except we couldn't find them. Never mind, moving on. Now he's much happier. He's just helping people all over the world. Companies like Petro Saudi, who he might have had some casual dealings with, allegedly. He might have used his reputation and influence to open doors to the Chinese market for them, allegedly, many years ago. I mean, or he might not. It's hard to tell, as is often the case. Now he's raised his head to criticise his own political party's policies in the UK about renewables and electric ground transport. And he is, of course, pushing for less stringent regulation around the burning of his Saudi pal's extremely expensive, toxic, imported fossil fuel. I mean, they might not be his pals. I don't know for sure. Not only that, he suggested two other things that kind of went ding, 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 ding. In my head, the alarms went off. The fossil fuel lobbyist's bullet point alarm bell was ringing off the hook. So Tony Blair is really keen on the fantasy of carbon capture and storage. The fossil fuel lobby groups love this crap. Promising technology. CCS. Capture all the carbon in the atmosphere and store it under the sea. Cheap, easy to do, total fix for all our problems. We can carry on burning oil and gas for another century. Woot. Only slight drawback, it's never worked and it never will, and it's a massive lie. And I know some people will post links to some cockamamie company that's managed to store 1.3 kilos of CO2 in a concrete brick in an experimental laboratory. Yeah, whatever. I'll say it again, CCS is a fossil-funded con job. It does not work. Ask any actual real scientist. They will be very happy to tell you. His other suggestion is that we need to install small modular nuclear reactors everywhere, SMRs. Then we can generate enough electricity and we don't need to burn gas anymore. You see, it would really save us. What this is actually saying in the subtext is, my fossil pals have told me wind turbines, solar and battery storage are too cheap and they're too rapid to install and they're going to take over, so we must push nuclear, which will take 40 years to install. It will cost trillions, but it will mean we can carry on burning gas for a few more decades. But there is another unforeseen glitch in the small modular nuclear reactor fantasy touted by the fossil and nuclear lobby groups, aided and abetted by Tony Blair. It's the police. Yet not the band. The Civil Nuclear Constabulary is the branch of the UK police force who protect our nuclear installations. They are truly amazing people. I've met some of them. They perform a critically important role, and we really need these people to be on the case 24/7. They are highly trained, heavily armed, and they have a really difficult job to do. They already stretched the limit protecting the various nuclear installations around the country that we already have, and specifically the Sellafield nuclear reprocessing plant in Cumbria, where there are literally mountains of highly radioactive material held in massive tanks. You can go and see it. You don't need to believe me when I say it. If they're open to the public, you can go around Sellafield on public tours. I've been around twice. It is incredible what they're doing, vitally important, but there's a lot of pretty dangerous stuff there. That stuff needs to be protected for a bit. Not that long, 10, 12,000 years max. So if we start installing dozens of SMRs, as they're known, all over the country, these devices will contain some very dangerous material, stuff we really don't want radical right-wing nut jobs getting hold of. So we need armed police on site all the time. And one more teeny glitch to the nuclear power lobby and the rabid tech bros who bray about it all the time. As many viewers will know, Chinese and French companies are building a new nuclear power plant at Hinkley Point C. It's a little behind schedule. Currently about 15 years behind schedule and a little over the original budget, which was £16 billion. It's now estimated to be between 33 and 35 billion pounds. So it's a challenging energy environment to be building something something as expensive as that. As the cost of renewables is dropping all the time and the speed of their installation is going up, I mean, it's difficult. Also, I'm hearing more and more arguments from people in the energy sector questioning the need for base load. Everyone will tell you, oh, we need a base load. I mean, with the fluctuating nature of renewables, what happens when the sun isn't shining and the wind ain't blowing, Buster? We need base load. Well, it seems there are very good examples of modern countries surviving remarkably well using just renewables with near zero base load capability. If you link people together, and you spread your renewables as far and wide as you can, it works. Whatever. We can't stop building Hinkley Point C now. We just have to wait until 2031 to see if it works. But the sister power plant, built to the exact same specifications in Flamanville in France, which again was about 12 years behind schedule and many billions of euros over budget, actually started generating power last year. And then, well, something pretty major went wrong and they've had to shut it down again. And as far as I know, it's still shut down at the moment and they're going to have to spend billions more fixing it. All that aside, we have to protect the fuel and the waste material that these power plants produce. And that costs money. A lot of money that you and I as taxpayers have to fork out. Something fossil fuel patsies like good old Tony Blair will never mention. That particular piece of information isn't on his laminated bullet list the fossil fuel lobbyists gave him for free. What a massive has-been loser he is. Anyway, our story. Did you hear about... Oh, the trouble is, I know some people that know him and it's a bit awkward. Anyway, shut up, Robert. Did you hear about those silly people in Spain and Portugal with all their electricity? It all stopped working because they've installed too many solar panels. No, it's true. That's what I read in the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph. Two British honest publications owned by billionaires who don't live in the UK and never ever paid tax. Thankfully, for once, there were far more press reports about the fact that whatever the reason behind the massive nationwide power outages and the chaos that followed, it had nothing to do with the fact that Spain and Portugal have enormous amounts of renewable energy installed. If the wires and systems that distribute that power go AWOL, that could happen with any power source, and indeed it has many times. It's very concerning. Events like this cause massive disruption and hardship. We really need to build more resilient, locally networked solutions to the old-fashioned grid. We've always stated on the Fully Charged Show and Everything Electric Show that the energy transition we are going through at the moment will be very disruptive. Stuff will go wrong. But we are now seeing a really big shift away from fossil burning. Spain runs on electricity that is 56% produced by renewables, and Portugal is 70% renewably powered. Not at any one time or for one specific afternoon. That's over the whole year. 56% of all the electricity consumed in Spain is produced by renewables all over the year. 71% in Portugal. I just want to repeat that. It's now painfully obvious that we can create all the electricity we need from renewables, and we can run pretty much everything we need to do from electricity. We just need to modernise the grid and localise the generation to make it more resilient. Not only localised, but locally owned too. There's a suggestion. Anyway, that's all for this episode of Almost Breaking News. I really hope you've gained something from it. Please do leave comments and tell me how wrong I am. Oh, I don't need to tell you to do that. You'll do that anyway. Please do tell your friends to like and subscribe the Fully Charged Show. And as always, if you have been, thank you for watching.